What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently in, I guess, the most quietest time for any NBA fan at this point in time. So it is hard to kind of discuss the Chicago Bulls because there's not really much happening, not really much news going around, still have no extensions, still have no trades to talk about or anything like that. So amongst trying to think of what could I possibly be talking about for the Chicago Bulls, I think of how much pressure some of these guys are under in order to deliver next season. And there's a question that just kind of brew in my mind, and that question was: is next season a make or break season for the Chicago Bulls? We could discuss it as a team as a whole. We could discuss it with individual players. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's not really a make or break for anyone. It's going to be a rather interesting season for the Chicago Bulls, and let's discuss whether or not it is make or break in this video. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know what you guys think about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe this is a make or break season for this team. So essentially, we saw how good this team was towards the end of the season, and I think a lot of people are hoping, including myself, that could be replicated at the beginning of this season with a weaker Eastern Conference, and ultimately, probably a point to prove for a lot of guys, especially, for example, Coby White, who is on the verge of an extension, and Josh Giddey, who wants to get paid long-term money, and guys like Nikola Vucevic is probably going to be playing for another contract in the NBA. So many guys have a lot to prove in that standpoint that it probably is a make-or-break season for a lot of these guys. But as a team as a whole, I don't personally think this season is make or break, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, our head coach, who is seen as a leader within this organization, just got a multi-year extension. That, to me, does not scream that this team is in a make it or break it sort of situation. And it kind of shows that the Bulls are still showing patience within this organization. So that's the first kind of note to take into consideration when you're thinking of this organization, when you're thinking of the Chicago Bulls. If we're really in a make it or break it situation, then I would assume you would have to make at least warnings, not extensions at this point in time. Maybe warning or a last chance for the Bulls head coach, not extending him and stuff of that nature. So to me, that doesn't scream like a team that is in a make it or break it situation. Also, this team does have a little bit more salary room going forward, which means our future is not set on anything at the moment. We are not the Orlando Magic, for example, that has their future and all of their money set on the current roster that they have. And they are hoping that that is going to be, I guess, the team that makes it for them in terms of winning an NBA championship and competing for many years to come. We are not in that situation. We have not really put our money into anything, and therefore, this team is very flexible because of that. So that, to me, is not a make it or break it sort of situation. And the last thing that we can kind of talk about with the Chicago Bulls team is where we have been in the past. This team has been in the middle grounds, A lot of people call it NBA hell when it comes to playing tournaments and being 9th and 10th in the Eastern Conference for so many years, getting the middle of the pack sort of draft picks and all that thing. To me, if we were in a make it or break it situation, you would assume the Bulls are probably fighting for something more than just that. You would have to assume the Bulls were in, for example, the Boston Celtics shoes, or even the Indiana Pacers shoes, a team that's fighting for the Eastern Conference title each and every single season, making it to NBA Finals and trying to win championships, not in the play-in tournament. So this team, by no stretch of the imagination, in my eyes, is in a make it or break it situation, but I did mention this a little bit earlier. I think certain players are in make it or break it situation, and that's where things get interesting. So the team as a whole, not make it or break it in my eyes, but the players on this team, some of them are in make it or break it situations. For example, we talked about it earlier, Nikola Vucevic trying to fight for another contract in the NBA. For whatever reason, there's no team interested in Nikola Vucevic, and that is just the most bizarre thing in the world. So Vucevic is playing for something next season. He is playing to secure a NBA contract next season. He is playing for a chance to hopefully compete for a championship within a couple of seasons' time with a different team, I assume. And he is playing to kind of keep his NBA career alive. This is Very well-known stuff at the end of the day. This is a guy that's averaged 20 and 10 in the past. This is a guy that played very well for the Chicago Bulls last season, yet we're talking about it as this is a make or break season for him. This will determine how much money his next contract is, how many years his next contract is. This season will determine whether or not he even gets a trade out of Chicago this season or not. So there's a lot to play for if you're Nikola Vucevic. In my eyes, he's in a make it or break it situation. Coby White and his extension. This, to me, is the season where Coby makes it or breaks it. You know, this is the season for him. If you think about what Coby White has done throughout the course of his careers, he's had excellent end to the seasons, excellent second half to the seasons, but he's never been able to fully grasp that for a whole season. He has struggled at the beginning of seasons, or maybe his roles have changed at the beginning of seasons compared to where he was at the end of last season, especially. He's shown that he could be a 20, 22, 24 even point per game scorer. It really is about bringing it all together. And what that means for Coby White is being able to play at that level from the beginning to the end of the season. The reason why this is make it or break it for him is that he's on the verge of a contract extension. And it may not be with the Chicago Bulls. It may be for another team. I have no idea. But it will determine what his money is going to look like. This could potentially be his biggest payday of his career. And it could go really high, depending on how well he plays next season for the Chicago Bulls. It could be a massive heap of money. So if you're Coby White, you're thinking to yourself, I have to deliver this season, because if I don't, it is going to affect the pockets that, you know, you're trying to fill at the end of the day. It may not be about money for everybody, but you know, you do want to try to get as much as you can, especially in this modern NBA where pretty much everybody's making stupid money at this point. So you want to try and get to the, you know, the really large pockets that the NBA can give, and the really large amounts that the NBA can give. And that starts with showing what you're all about. So he's in a make it or break it situation. I mean, if Josh Giddey accepts his qualifying offer, he's pretty much in a make it or break it situation as well. If he ends up signing a multi-year deal for the Chicago Bulls that's worth 25, 30 million, I wouldn't say Josh Giddey's season is make it or break it, because at the end of the day, he got his bag. The pressure's kind of off of him. All he can do now is focus on basketball and do what he likes to do, right? But if he signs his qualifying offer, hoping to get more from any team in the NBA next season, he is definitely in a make it or break it situation, probably more than anyone on this team. If you really think about it, Josh Giddey has shown that he could be exceptional in the NBA. He's also shown that when the playoff moments are high, he could be taken out of an NBA team. That's what happened with the OKC Thunder. They didn't play Josh Giddey. They took him out of the lineup because he was unusable to them. But he's also shown with the Bulls he could average near a triple-double and be the best version of himself. So there's two versions of Josh Giddey that we have seen over the course of his NBA career. Which one is going to step to the forefront? Is it going to be that triple-double Josh Giddey, the triple-double machine, the high IQ, the huge positive in the plus-minus and impacting winning? Or are we going to see the Josh Giddey that in the end is unplayable, doesn't always produce, maybe goes missing in games, and defensively is a liability? Which one are we going to see with the NBA long term? This is a make it or break it if he accepts his qualifying offer, in my opinion. So, yeah. And you know what? If there's anything I can say about Josh Giddey and that qualifying offer, if he accepts his qualifying offer, I will be pissed. I'll be honest with you. I'll be pissed because I want him long term. I'll be upset. I'll be frustrated. But the one thing I will also be is I will be respecting Josh Giddey a little bit more because he's banking on himself. And you got to have a lot of balls in this league to do that. So if he's betting on himself, betting that he could get more, betting he could get a better contract, and he's going to go for it, then let's play next season and let's see how he goes, even though I'll be a little bit salty. So to sum it up, the Bulls organization in of itself, since we're nowhere near competing, we are not in a make it or break it situation, but some players are. Some players are very much in a make it or break it situation next season because it will determine their future for a long, long time ahead. I haven't even talked about guys like Ayo, who's fighting for a spot on this team long term. Guys like Trey Jones, who recently got extended. We're hoping a lot on him. Matas Buzelis taking an extra leap. To me, these are not all make it or break it's, but there's also, guys on this team that still play with a point to prove. And I'm excited for every step of that. We'll wait and see who's going to make it. And who's going to break it? Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.